Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another of OPSC's virtual trainings. My name is Alma Camino, and today we're going to be talking about the Site Development Worksheet for additional grants and the Facility Hardship Cost Estimate, also known as Form SAB 5801. Here's an overview of today's presentation. First, we'll talk about the plan verification team, supporting documentations needed to conduct a full review. Under new construction and modernization programs, we'll talk about the site development worksheet for additional grants, cost determination guidelines. Then we're going to talk about the difference between base grant versus additional site development grant. Then understanding the site development regulations. Then we're going to go into more how to complete the site development worksheet. And then we're going to go over the 50 and 57 GM form. Under Facility Hardship Program, we'll talk about the SAB Form 5801, then submittal process, review process, architect submittal guidelines, and like Brian said, at the end, we'll have some time for questions or comments. Okay. The plan verification team, also known as PVT, is composed of technical experts that review construction documents and specifications of projects that are submitted to OPSC. Their prime objective is to ensure that requested quantities and costs of submitted applications are in compliance with the school facility program SAP regulations. The most common reviews that we do are for new construction and modernization applications, but we also do other reviews for projects for, like, for example, charter schools, facility hardship, seismic mitigation, and the career technical education facilities program. When an application is submitted to OPSC, certain documents from the application packet will be reviewed by PVT. And those documents include the application for funding, which is the Form SAB 5004, the CDE final approval letter, DSA approval letter. And if you're submitting a new construction project where you are requesting for site development, you would need a site development worksheet for additional grants. DSA plans, local authority approved offsite plans. That's only if it's applicable. Local utility districts fees schedules and calculations, geotechnical report, and or hazardous materials report. Once again, only if it's applicable. Now, if you're submitting a modernization project that has 50 years or older utilities, then you will also need a site development worksheet. For new construction and modernization projects, we have two programs. The first program is a new construction program that provides funds on a 50-50 state and local sharing basis. This provides funding for the construction of new schools or classrooms additions to existing schools. It also funds library, multi-purpose rooms, gyms, administration, and other school facilities, also known as a minimum essential facility. Now, the modernization program provides state funds on a 60-40 basis. And projects eligible under this program include such modifications as air conditioning, plumbing, lighting, electrical system, and other features of aging buildings. A district can also use the grant to demolish and replace existing building area of like kind. Now, under the modernization program, this is only if for improvements to educationally enhance and extend the useful life of existing school facilities that have permanent buildings that are at least 25 years old, or portable buildings are at least 20 years old. Now, what's the site development worksheet for additional grants? Well, this worksheet is intended to provide school districts and architects with a uniform format to record eligible costs for site development based on SAP regulations, section 1859.76. It is also was created to assist design professionals as a checklist. Only new construction projects would need to fill out this form. The site development worksheet consists of 3 sections, which are service site, offsite, and utilities, and it can be obtained at OPSC online, and we have provided a link here for you to make it easier for you. Okay. Now, site development cost determination guidelines. So only reasonable and appropriate site development work, which meets common engineer practices and industry standards, is allowed. Reported site development costs must be consistent with the cost listed in the Sierra West current construction costs 2021. Now on the left, right here, we have provided an image of the two books that we normally use. So depending on the type of project you're submitted, you will either use the green book or the red book. So for example, if you're submitting a new construction project, you will use the green book. For modernization projects with 50 years or older utilities, you will use the red book, category F2. For facility hardship projects, for rehabilitation, you will use the red book, category F3. Facility hardship projects for replacement, green book. Facility hardship seismic project for rehabilitation, you use red book, once again, category F3. And for facility hardship seismic projects replacement, you use the green book. If for some reason an item cannot be found in Sierra West, other cost reference books and unit cost breakdowns would be considered. Now, what's the difference between base grant versus additional site development grant? Well, the base grant is also known as the pupil grant and is intended to fund design, construction, testing, inspection, furniture, equipment, and other costs closely related to the actual construction of the buildings. The site development grant is supplemental funding available for the costs related to preparing a site for construction, including grading and drainage. The SFP regulations break site development into 4 categories, which are service site, off-site development, utilities, and general site. Now, although there's 4 categories for site development, on the site development worksheet, you would only see 3. And that is because general site funding is only available for a new school on a new site, or if you're building existing, or if you're building, or if your new construction part is acquiring additional acreage. Now, on the right side, we have created a chart where it makes it easier to see what item are eligible under what category. For example, for pupil grants, we have foundation, structures, exterior and interior finishing, fittings and fixtures, furniture and equipment, and so on. You can see the rest of the items are eligible under that category. And we did that also at the bottom for additional grants for site development, for service site, off-site, and utilities. Okay. Here we have provided the regulations for site development. For example, for service site is regulation section, SFP regulation section 1859.76a. So for service site, it covers costs of developing the site within the property lines. For offsite, it's section 1859.76b, which is talks about costs of improving 2 contiguous adjacent sides of the site from the property line to the street center line. For utility service is section 1859.76c, which talks about the cost of bringing the utilities onto the site. For general site, it's section 1859.76d. This talks about the cost for on-site, driveways, parking, curbs, gutters, running tracks, baseball, football, and soccer fields. And once again, general sites only available if the project consists of a brand new school on a new site, or if the district is acquiring additional acreage. Okay, so now we're going to go into each section. We're going to talk about the items that go into each section. So for example, for service site development, the typical service site development items include site clearance, demolition, rewriting of utility lines, rough grading, and you can see the rest are covered under this section. Okay, so this is what it actually looks on the site development worksheet. So for service site, we can see all the categories listed that we just mentioned in the last slide. And we have also included instructions as to what is covered or what we're looking for under each category. So for example, site clearance is the removal of trees, brush, and debris. And then for demolition, it would be demolition and removal of existing buildings and site improvements that lie in the footprint of a proposed building or proposed site development. And it goes on for each section. Off-site development. First of all, if the district is requesting for off-site development, the district needs to submit local authority approved off-site plans. Without them, we cannot, PBT cannot determine if the district is eligible for this funding. And the typical items under off-site development include curbs, gutters and paving, sidewalks, street lighting, landscaping and signage, district fees, and we have the rest here. Just a special note, permit and fees, permits, fees, testing, inspections, etc., that are related to the offsite development are all included in the general requirements. Okay, so now we're going to talk about utility service. So typical utility service items include water, sewer, gas, electrical, and communications. And here as well, we have included instructions of what we're looking for. And then, for example, for here, if your project consists of a new site, then instructions are provided here. This one states installation of water supply lines from the utility company point of connection to the meter. But if your project consists of adding to an existing site, we only cover installation of water supply lines from the point of connection to 5 feet of the proposed nearest building. So that goes on for each section. Utility company connection fees are eligible and should be requested as part of the special district fees under section 1859.76B4 with appropriate supporting documentation. Okay, so now we're going to talk about modernization projects that have 50 years or older utilities. This grant provides additional funding to upgrade existing site utilities for the modernization of 50 years or older permanent buildings as stated on SAP regulation section 1859.78.7. A district can receive 60% of verified eligible costs necessary to upgrade utility services for the following, which is water, sewer, gas, electrical, and communications. And we have included the SFP regulation for each one of those. And once again, instructions are included under each section as to what's eligible. As an example, for these type of projects here for water states eligible for domestic water service lines between the utility company connection to 5 feet of the 50 years or older building. And this worksheet could be obtained once again at OPSC online, and we have included a link here for you. On this slide, it goes more into detail as to what is covered under each section for these type of projects. So for example, for water, sewage, and gas, eligible costs include from the utility company point of connection to within 5 feet of the proposed building, which has to be the 50-year or older permanent building. Underwater, keep in mind that only domestic water is eligible. So for example, fire water or irrigation is not allowed. For electrical, the grant funds from point of connection to main switchboard for communication system. Projects eligible from point of connection to the nearest distribution center, local area networks within the property lines such as fire alarms and public address centers are not eligible. So basically only telephone, cable, and data is eligible. Okay, if you're submitting this type of project, it is a must to submit a site map indicating the age of each building on site as well as the name of each building. Here's an example of a site map that was submitted by a district. Just to make it a little easier to see, here at the bottom, we can see that they listed the name of the buildings, as well as like if there were the type of building it was. For example, building A was administration multi-purpose, and this is just really important, the year it was built. This one was built in 1962, as well as the rest of these. So all the ones in yellow are at least 50 years or older. And these are these. And the one in red is not eligible for this type of funding. Once again, if this information cannot be provided to DBT, we cannot determine if the project is eligible for this type of grant. Okay, now we're going to talk more about how to fill out this form. Okay, so in order to maximize funding, reduce review time, and simplify reviews, the following information is required. So first of all, the site development consists of 9 categories. So although there are 9 categories, only 8 of them need to be filled out by the district. For example, the first one is plan location. The second one is item, quantity, unit cost, architect allowance, OPC allowance, architect's comments, current construction cost by CROS, and then under OPSC allowance, that's the section that does not need to be filled out by the district. That's filled out by PBT. So for plan location, basically what you put there is you just reference the plan page, and that number is located. There's an example of a plan page, and normally the number is located at the bottom right side corner. For item, basically you just enter the item requested. So if you click on the cell on your site development worksheet, it will give you other options to select. But if for some reason you cannot find the item that you want to include, you could also enter manually. In this case, we're just going to select clear and growth. Okay. For quantity, here you just add the amount requested. It is helpful for the plan verification team for the plan verification team to see a formula on this cell. So for example, here, the district requested 4,680 cubic yards. If you click on it, the district included the formula as to how they came up with that quantity. That is very helpful because if we come out with something different, we could compare notes and see where the discrepancy is. Also keep in mind, no lump sums will be accepted. So if you do a lump sum, what would happen on the first review would just probably just give you 0. But on the second review, 0, and then we will ask you to break it down, and then we would do a second review. For a unit, just enter the unit of measurement for that specific material or item you're requesting. For unit cost, that can be found in the CROS books. And at the bottom, we have included an image of what one of the pages in CROS. So for example, for unit cost, This is the CROS number for this specific item. So when you go to CROS, you look for that number, it's right here. And then you go to union total, it's $1.59 per square foot. And that's the number that you enter under unit cost. For architect estimate, it's just basically the quantity multiplied by the unit cost. For OPSC allowance, that's just the cost verified that is verified by PBT. Under architect's comment, just make sure in this section, well, utilize this section as a way to inform us any special information you need us to know. You could even include a formula as to how you came up with with your quantity, as well as you could tell us, unable to find cost for this particular item, but utilize this other book. Any explanation that you think will help PBT, just you could use that column. And then the last column, you just add the CROS number, which is these. Okay, once a review is completed, this is an example of something that you would see. So we would, first of all, PBT will fill out this column with all the verified quantities that they got. Now under comments, we have some typical comments we use. For example, you may see verify and allow or approve as requested. That basically means that we were able to verify whatever the district was requesting on the plans. For example, here it was remove existing tree. The district requested 2, PBT was able to verify that amount, and the unit cost is correct. So we just write that down. If you see allowed or approve as requested, this comment is used when a line item has been allowed without a detailed review. Eligibility on this project is not guaranteed. It would be allowed on a future project. So just because we just allowed it on, let's see, this particular project, doesn't mean it's going to happen on the next project. You may also see disallowed, not eligible per SFP regulation. As an example, 1859.76. That's just basically telling you it's not allowed per that regulation. Or you'll see this one, which is verified. As an example, it's verified 112,200 square feet allowed at 34 cents per square foot. That's just what that means. Another quote you might see, another comment I should say that you might see is quantity review and approve as requested. Please update to unit cost as reflected in CROS current construction cost guide. What that means is we were able to verify the amount you requested, but you need to just update this section, the unit cost, to the most current CROS. Or you can see cannot verify, please provide. In this situation, we just simply couldn't verify the item on the plans. So we would tell you what documentation we need in order to verify it, or simply just, you could just show it on the plans for us if we weren't able to see it. If an incorrect CROS construction cost is used, PBT may correct the cost, include correct construction cost number, and provide a comment. As an example here, we have, you see the district requested 14 catch basins at $2,289.69 each, but PBT was able to verify this amount but the unit cost was incorrect. So we just said allowed at 1,553 and 33 cents each, and then we provided the correct CROS number. Excuse me. Cost estimates with numerous instances of incorrect costs may be returned to the school district for correction, or funding would be reduced to 0. So if it's, maybe 1 or 2 that we see that's incorrect, we'll probably correct it for you. But if it's the entire or most of the cost estimate that has incorrect numbers, then we'll definitely probably send it back with 0. But then on the second review, once it's corrected, we'll go ahead and continue looking at it. Now, if a line item was moved from one section to another, it would be mentioned in the comment section, and the color of the line item will be changed. So what that means is, for example, right here, the line item, the color was changed, and the comment was provided, which was moved from line 170A. We verified 145 linear feet, and it was allowed at 992 cents per linear foot, and we included the CROS number. That's just so you can see we added that line item. If the reviewer finds an eligible item not mentioned in the site development worksheet, the reviewer will add a new item, but it will be in a different color. So an example is right here. So the district, for some reason, just didn't include this line item, but PBT was able to verify that they could qualify, or actually they qualify for a PVC pipe 6 inches. So they changed that the line item, changed the color of the line item, and then make a comment saying verify 240 linear feet allowed, and then the unit cost price per linear foot and the CROS number. Okay, here's an example of a review. This is just to show you when we look at plans, we measure everything we see. I know this one's a little hard to see. So we're gonna zoom it in a little bit. It might still be hard to see, but we're gonna focus, let's see, for example, on PVC pipe 4 inches. Anything in this case, all the lines are blue. They're blue. We'll have a measurement in red, but it's just really hard to see. It's tiny. At the end, we add all the blue lines, and in this case, PBT was able to verify that there was 253 linear feet of PVC pipe 4 inches, and then we're gonna allow it at $43.23. Okay, here's another example of a review. Right here, we're going to focus on this line item, which is the retention basin cut and fill. In this case, the district was requesting 6,988 cubic yards at 661 per cubic yard. PBT verify only 4,689 cubic yard, and the unit cost was correct, but it's just we verify less. Now, usually we will put a comment in the cell. So you'll see like a little in the corner, like a little arrow. If you click on it, you would see a cell. And here we include the formula that we utilize, or just how we came up with that quantity. So you can see, so you can compare our notes with yours. Okay, so once a review is completed, we would complete what it's called a 50 GM form or a 57 GM form. So what that is just a summary of the completed full review. And this is a form completed by PBT, and it's provided to the project manager along with the review site development worksheet. If you submitted a new construction project, then you will receive a 50 GM form. If you submitted a modernization project with 50 years or older utilities, you will receive a 57 GM form. And this form is sent to the district or the consultant when the 15-day or 4-day letter is submitted. I should say send. And here's an example of a 50 GM form. The first section is basically just the project information, like for example, the school district name, the school name, DSA approval date, DSA number. So it's just basic project information, as well as the CDE master plan capacity and actual site, and also number of teaching stations, which are classrooms. So right here, we would put what CDE letter states, and here we would put what PBT found. In this case, we concur. The second section, here is where you would see if you're eligible for automatic fire detection alarm systems or automatic fire sprinklers. And this section would only be filled out if your project consists of a new school on a new site. And this is based on pupils requested. Here's what you would see our findings when it comes to the site development. You would see the findings for service site, off-site, and utilities. You will also see architect's estimate at 100%, PBT's findings at 100%, and the state grant at 50%. Here you just see the geographical adjustment percentage. And then lastly, at the bottom, this is the section where PBT will include a brief summary of the scope of work, as well as any special notes needed for the project manager. Also here we could put a note, for example, needed certain documentation to verify, X item. This is where you would see it on this section. Then you would see the reviewer's initials, the date that the review was done, and then the last name of the project manager. And here you would the architect's information would be included. Now, if you submitted a modernization project with 50 years or older utilities, you will receive a 57 GM form. On the first section, it's just like the 50 GM form. It just consists of the project information. The second section is just the additional grant information, which is our site development findings. In this case, it would just be for utilities. Then you'll see the architect's estimate at 100%, PBT findings at 100%, and the state grant at 60%. Here, the geographical adjustment. And then section 4, once again, here PBT will include a brief summary of the scope of work, as well as any special notes for the project manager or the district. You will also see here under for modernization project, this is where we would include if the project is eligible for automatic fire detection and alarm grant. And this is an example of that. It states this project is eligible for automatic fire detection and alarm grant. Here we will also include, just like on the previous slide, for the 50 GM form, the PBT's, the reviewer's initials, as well as when the project was reviewed, and the project manager's last name. And right here, it would be the architect's information. Excuse me. For facility hardship. For facility hardship, this grant provides provides assistance to school district when necessary facilities have conditions that are causing health and safety threats to students and staff, or if a related facility was lost or destroyed as a result of a disaster. So here we just included information regarding facility hardship as to what is the matching. What is, for example, we have a teaching project where it's on a 60-40 state and district basis for funding. And goes on to explain us the other type of facility projects. We also included the SFP regulations for facility hardship. Okay, and now we're just going to talk about the form SCB 5801. Okay, so we have an example of the form on the right side. This form can be obtained at OPSC online, and we have included links for you to make it easier for you. Form is utilized to determine if a project is eligible for replacement or modernization funding. Cost estimate not submitted on this form will not be processed, so it's very important for the district to fill out this form if they're submitting a facility hardship project. Costs must be based on the most current edition of the current construction cost remodeling and repair publication by Sierra West. And it has to be under, and that's a red book, and then you would utilize category F3. And cost estimate must be based on the work outlined in the report provided by the licensed design professional for the minimum work required to mitigate the health and safety threat. Also, the cost estimate should be for the same scope of work reviewed and concurred to by DSA. Okay, this form consists of 3 sections. The first section is part 1, which is talks about, well, it's in regards to hard costs. Part 2 is soft costs, and the last section is for certification. Okay. So for part 1, it has 7 categories. On the first column, the CSI number basically is the CROS number. The second column is the description of the item or material that the district is requesting for. The third column is quantity, it's just the amount of the item you're requesting for. For unit, it's just basically is the unit of measurement of that item you're requesting for. For cost / unit, this is just the unit cost. Make sure you utilize category F3. District request, that's just basically the quantity multiplied times the unit cost. OPSC allowance, you don't have to worry about filling that out. We filled that section out as our findings. And comments, once again, just like the site development worksheet, you just add any comments that you think might help the reviewer. And here as well, line items requesting lump sum formats would not be eligible for funding, so make sure you break those down. For the projects that do not require DSA plan approval, enter the quantity as indicated in the supporting documentation submitted with the application. Installation costs are already included in the total unit cost amount, so there's no need to add additional costs for that. Okay, so for part 2, for the cells highlighted in orange, those are the percentage that you need to enter manually. And these percentages can be found in the CROS current construction cost 2021, which is the red book. And we have included the CSI numbers. So you could just find that page on CROS, and that would give you the percentages. And we'll go over that in a minute. And those are the CSI numbers. So the first section is the general conditions. The percentage entered should be based off the construction subtotal. So you go to the CROS number. This is an example of the page in CROS. So you go to this number and you go under the column of alterations and additions, and based on your construction subtotal, that's the percentage you will utilize. For general requirements, it's basically the same thing. We're just going on a different page in CROS. We're looking for this number, then we go to alterations and additions. And based on the percentage based on the construction subtotal. So then you find your construction subtotal and the percentage there, and you enter it in that section. For bond, same thing. Go to the CROS number under overhead and profit bonds. The percentage, once again, is enter should be based off the construction subtotal. So based on your subtotal, you select the percentage. Okay, for escalation, same thing. You go to CROS, go under this number on escalation, and the percentage should be based on the construction subtotal, and just enter it. Just keep in mind, if your project is completed, basically you just enter 0%. Okay, now for the CDE plan fee, you will need to go to one of the CDE website. We have included a link for you here to make it easier. Once you click here, it will take you to this website where it will tell you what you need to multiply your amount by. For example, here is it states it's at 0.0007. So you multiply that number times your construction cost, and that should give you the CDE plan fee, and then you would include it there. For DSA plan fee, you have to go to one of the DSA website, actually to DSA website. We have included a link here for you to make it easier for you. Once you click here, it will take you to this page. Just need to complete the information they're requesting from you, and then it will give you an amount, and that amount goes here. Okay. And the last part of this form is just the certification section. This section, just know that it must be signed by an authorized district representative. And then it must be submitted to the application review team as part of their application packet. PDF must have a signature, and also please submit an editable Excel file for PBT to review. Once the review is completed, it will be emailed back to the district by the project manager. Submittal process. Here is just a quick overview of the submittal process. So for example, first, depending on what kind of project you're submitting, if you're submitting a new construction or a modernization project, you would click on this link to obtain the site development worksheet. Or if it's a facility hardship project, you would click on this link. And then for site development worksheets, you submit them to OPSC cost estimate at dgs.ca.gov. For the form SAB 5801, which is for facility hardship, you would submit it to OPSC application review team at dgs.ca.gov. And then after that, you would get a first review, and if necessary, you would get a second review. And then we'll go into more details as to what the first review, second review entails in a minute. Okay, review process. So during the first review, PBT may request additional information such as soils report, district utility fees, and quantity or unit cost breakdowns. Also, the district may make changes to their cost estimate. For example, if they see that they missed to add certain items, then this is the time to do it. Also, just know the DSA plan not approved part of the application submittal date will not be accepted. This is the time to update your cost. So if you submitted a cost estimate where you got a note from us stating that you need to update your cost, this is the time to do it. Now, also, if the district would like to discuss the review, a meeting can be arranged by your project manager. So definitely that's once you see our first review, this is when you would arrange a meeting if you would like to. After the second review, the school district has the choice of the following: accept final site development worksheet. Once the final site development worksheet has been accepted as final, no other adjustments will be allowed. If the final review is not accepted, a district may elect to withdraw the application and resubmit in the future. If the final review is not accepted, the district may also elect to file an appeal and dispute the findings. But just know, if necessary, after a district response, OPSC may request further clarification or justification. So for example, if you get your second review and PPT still is unclear on certain things, we can still ask you to submit, extra documentation for us to review during this time. Okay, architect submittal guidelines. Okay. So what is the architect submittal guidelines? Well, this is a comprehensive document to assist the district and their architects with a successful project plan specification and cost estimate submittal. This is a wonderful resource for districts, for architects, just because it goes into a lot more detail of what I just talked about in this presentation. It could be obtained at OPSC website. We have included a link here for you. So if you go to this link, you'll see what it looks like. So basically, here's just an image of the table of contents for the guidelines. And you can see in the first section talks about laws and regulations, the plan verification team, like what we do, what is needed for new construction projects. It goes into a lot of detail for every section. So we highly recommend that you utilize this resource. Here's another example of one of the pages in the book is like, for example, soil compaction. It'll list the SFP regulation as well as what it is, and it has examples with images. So it's very, very useful. This one is for sewer. It talks about what it is, and it has like images of exactly what we're looking for, or what we're measuring, I should say. Okay, here is our contact information. I've included the information for the plan verification team as well as for the facility hardship team, since we spoke about the form SAB 5801. If you have more questions regarding that, I've included those contacts. So yeah. Any questions?